Hey, this is Taylor with Believe in the Run. I wanted to let you know that the podcasts are getting their own channel. As we continue to grow, please search and follow BITR Networks on YouTube and Instagram to find all of the podcast related content. If you're looking for the shoe and gear reviews, you can find those on believeintherun.com or search Believe in the Run on YouTube and Instagram. Thank you for your support. Here's the show.
Give a good stretch, got my laces tied. My trusty podcast by my side. If you want to talk fun, it's the place to be. Yeah, it's the drop, D-R-O-P. Believe in the Run.
Hey, this is Taylor with Believe in the Run.
And Alex with Believe in the Run.
And you're listening to the Drop Podcast, but the Dirt Division segment where we'll talk a lot about trails and races this week and events and trail shoes and trends, but all correlated to trail running, at least this week.
Mm-hmm. We'll get off topic next week. Don't worry.
There's a lot of room to do so today too, but
yeah.
We'll see. I do want to admit that we had this conversation yesterday, and just update that Google Chrome or whatever if you're recording. It was weird.
Will be lost.
Yeah, it's never happened before. It wasn't even a connection thing, which is usually my issue. But as of today, I have Starlink, and it's way better.
You have such a good connection.
Well, I am seeing you the same. But apparently you guys have always just seen me as a blurry blob.
Yeah, for anyone listening, it used to just be a blurred shot of Taylor in whatever random place his internet kind of froze and slowed down, and that's what we would talk to the whole time.
Well, and after going through this process of like having other hard things happen and taking like when I would have to upload videos for Carl to put on YouTube or whatever, it would literally, some of them take like 3-4 hours. And yeah, so that was one thing. And there's just not many internet options out here in the sticks. So we were just going with the option we had until now we have Starlink.
Do all your neighbors have Starlink too, or what do they do?
No, only one other neighbor, like just up the road, like last week put a Starlink on his roof.
Okay.
And he's the only one here. And we don't we live in an area where like we have 3 neighbors outside just like happen to be near us. And we all live here year round, but otherwise there's not many people who live out here year round.
Okay.
Just not a lot of modernity out here and just like old family cabins, basically. Like I would bet if I went for a run around here and counted how many outhouses we have, I bet you I have more outhouses per capita than pretty much any other neighborhood in the U.S.
Yeah.
There are a lot of outhouses.
To not have internet. So
exactly. And so
they're like, get out of here
until we started checking more into our internet package, because again, we just went with, when we moved out here, with the only thing that's available. Like they keep saying a fiber optic network might be coming, but that also just means that it's probably not, since we're just out here. But that's okay. I want to be out here, but it's not without peril, I guess.
Yes. Now you're connected, well connected.
We're well connected. And the next step is like, okay, we have an okay spot for it, but we have so many trees. So that's the next thing I'm figuring out. How are we going to get this above all the trees or away from the trees without having to get a 300-foot cord? But, this is already better, and I appreciate that. I tried getting
to cover everything we recorded yesterday.
Yeah. I'm sure there'll be some variation and whatnot, but that's okay. But the thing is, I was like bummed, like going to bed last night, which I usually don't think about much going to bed. But I'm like, dang, we had a great conversation. So for what it's worth, it was a joy to talk to you anyways. But we're here.
This one sucks.
Just know there was a good one. But the one thing we didn't cover yesterday that we were trying to cover is, one, you went to Hard Rock a few weeks ago, and love to hear about that. But more recently, Thomas and I went out to the White Mountains with Mount to Coast to really try to put the hurt on the M1 that's coming out in August, which has been like so long awaited.
Yes.
Besides the Norda 055, that's the shoe that I've received the most questions about this year,
Hmm.
and especially comparisons between those two, which I do have those, but it's still under embargo. So we're not going to go too much into the shoe itself, other than it handled the adventure we were given.
Okay.
But yeah, have
Yeah, I
you been
remember
out east?
ever since TRE, I remember like zeroing in on that Norda and the M1 and
Yeah.
being like, those are gonna be the shoes.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like they had those ones available, knowing that they were going to come out in the summer, and so a lot of brands will have like, here's what we have for spring, summer coming up the next year for the running event, and then they'll hold off on, well, maybe, and sometimes fall, I guess. But we're having a ton of turnover for this, like late summer into fall. A lot of shoes that
Hmm.
I had no idea that were coming out, but at the time of the running event, and still now, like those are definitely two of the more exciting
Yeah.
shoes coming around. So there will be comparisons of all that. And we will talk about the M1. You'll get it. Reese will have it. Johnny Dodgen already has his.
I saw that he's
He's
flaunting his.
yeah, yeah. Take that. And then I think Jared will get it too.
Yeah,
And
Jared's
so
on the cart too.
we'll have a bunch of reviewers, a lot of the same reviewers that were on the Norda 055. So there's
Hmm.
bound to be comparisons. But yeah,
Yeah.
have you been out east into any of
No,
those mountains?
I haven't. We just drove through like the Blue Ridge Mountains when I was really young to go see my brother in
Mm.
North Carolina, but I have not spent
Mhm.
any time running or anything like that.
Yeah. And so in some ways, so I'm going to back up. So we were out there with Mount Coast and we were out with a bunch of other media, and I wish I could name everybody, but it was just like with these media events, you just get to be with some of the best people, and you're fairly like-minded because you're doing this as a job. And so it just ends up being a great time and space to hang out. So all of that happened, plus Thomas and I got to hang out, which is I always look forward to that. Um, but the whole goal, or the initial goal, I should say, goal A was to do the Presi Traverse, which I had heard about. It's one of the only routes that I know about actually out east, like that's kind
Hmm.
of infamous, and for good reason, we found
Yeah.
out. And so it tags 7 or 8, depending on the variation you do, of the highest peaks in the White Mountains. And so it goes across the presidential range, which lo and behold, all of the peak names are president names, which I never put
Hmm.
that together until we were out there. Um, but yeah, so the it's just known. Like, what's your perception of it? Like, have you heard much about this area?
I know it's very exposed. I know it's like around 20-ish miles. I think
Mm-hmm.
9 to 10,000 feet of climbing, and I know that a lot of people lose their life on that traverse
Mm-hmm.
because winds are 75 to 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, and
I've
it's
read a lot of mishaps that have happened up there.
well, and one of the only like windows that I've had into like I'm guilty of like wherever I'm at, that's where I really am. So like if I'm here in the Rocky Mountains, I know my neighborhood like the back of my hand, all, 350 miles of trail that's in Rocky Mountain National Park, plus the up to thousands more that reach around us on the other sides in the national forest. Like I
Mhm.
know where everything is. So I just get really into what I'm into. So I haven't like had the chance to really look outside outside of where I'm at. So whether that
Yeah.
was in Minnesota when I lived there, Colorado, um, but I am just so unfamiliar with the East Coast. And so like I love that part of the adventure. And usually if I was going on my own, I would research it, look over all
Yeah.
the maps, have all the beta. But since we were going with a group, and I really do like kind of like on-siting things, just seeing it for the first time, being surprised, I didn't look up much information about it. I knew it was a big route. I knew it was infamous for weather and challenges and rocks. They call it the
Mhm.
rock pile.
Had
Eh,
Thomas looked it up and read much about it?
no, I don't think very much. He
Okay.
just kind of was cued off of me. Like I knew it was a really challenging
Yeah.
route, but I just didn't know how challenging. Just never been there.
Well, I remember
And
him saying like he's training for MCC and for
yep,
the Presidential Traverse when we were in California too. He was getting up
yep.
high and running steeps and
Yeah.
prepare.
Trying to prepare is like, you can only try because it
Yeah.
is such a unique place. So it reminds me of like some of the most technical parts of the Superior hiking trail, just jagged rocks every which way,
Mhm.
um, but with a lot of elevation gain. So it's just steep. Most miles that we were on, like even in the Rocky Mountains here, we
Yeah.
can go on. Like I'm looking at Meeker Mountain out my window right now, and it's above 13,000, almost 14,000 feet. And to get up to the top of that, there's probably maybe probably close to 3 miles worth that would have the same grade that almost all of our route did in in the White Mountains. And so like over 1,100 feet per mile. I should pull it up on my Coros app.
I know.
Like,
I want to look at your.
yeah, and Strava's always weird because it averages it between how much
Oh
you went up
yeah.
and down, but you should get a pretty good taste of
Yeah. I
it. But
mean, miles 3 and 4 were well over 1,000 feet per mile,
yeah, and that's like just before we got to tree line. And
and even 1 and 2 were like 700 feet per mile, which
yeah,
was.
and those were the flat, non-technical sections, and we still weren't moving fast. And part of it is, granted, there were
How
some.
big of a group was it?
We had 12, I believe, 12, and then
Plus a
14
guide?
with.
Did you have a?
Yep, and so that was
Okay.
including our guide Britta, who's a
Okay.
total mountain crusher. She had the FKT on this route,
That's amazing.
and now two ladies have passed her since she said it, but she ran a 4:37 on this,
Holy crap!
and it took
That is
us over
so
8
impressive.
hours to go about. I went 12 miles, probably a little more than most people, just because I was going back and forth between some groups.
Yeah.
But yeah, like 1,100 feet of gain, 1,400 feet of gain, 1,100 feet of gain, 1,000 feet of gain, and then that's where we turned around. Uh,
Yeah, the
it,
FKT site says 18 miles, 8,500 for total.
yeah. And so that's one of those things of like, until you're there, like, and this goes for any trail adventure you go on, until you're there, you don't really know. Like, the numbers only tell you so much. Like,
Yeah.
we can do steep. That's about as steep as what it was going out of like the valley floor in Chamonix. And if you've been there, like, you just know how steep that is. But
Mhm.
add just tons of rocks, roots, and then the inclement conditions, which were supposed to kind of come in the afternoon that day. And we knew about that. So we had like a bailout plan halfway on Mount Washington, but it
Okay.
came in pretty much right as soon as we got above tree line. And that's where
What time did you start? Did you start early?
we started at like 4:45-ish.
Okay.
And so, yeah, early, and we got up above tree line. Took us a couple hours to get to the first hut,
Okay.
which is more than just a hut. Like, I've seen a couple huts out here, like near Leadville. There's the 10th Mountain Division huts and that, which are,
Yeah.
big log cabins. But this is a full lodge that's up there.
Okay.
It was pretty sweet. And so we got there, kind of collected ourselves, and they have like full staff there. Like, that's what Katie Scheid used to do
Oh wow.
in the Whites. Like, that was her summer job. She would
Really?
work
At
as
that
staff.
lodge?
I don't know if it was at that lodge somewhere in the White
Oh,
Mountains.
cool. Okay.
But yes, and so you can work there, you cook, you maintain it, all that. And so it has much more of a through culture, or a through hiking culture,
Yeah.
than many other trails that I've been on. And so that was
Uh-huh.
really cool. Like, we got there just in time for they were serving breakfast to all the guests that were staying. And then this, ragged group of runners comes in, and yeah.
Seeking refuge.
Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't even bad then. It was starting to get like a little cloudy.
Okay.
We were warmer because we were going uphill. And it was like pretty much as soon as we left that lodge, it like got real. It got cloudy. It started to drizzle a little bit, but
Okay.
like initially, so I brought with like a Patagonia just wool layer, just a long sleeve. And so I put that on, and I was fine with just that over top of
Did they
my.
give you a list of like recommend? I know people are coming from all over, and a lot of people like there's people with done
Yeah.
hard rock and all sorts of experience. But did they
Yep.
give you kind of like a hey, let's at least have these things?
Yep. They gave a general packing list.
Okay.
I think it probably could have been more specific just
Little
because
more.
it's summer, right? Or like hey, asterisk, this
Yeah.
this area is known for X, Y, and Z. So like
Yep.
make sure you have it. Because Thomas, like we all brought gloves. I brought waterproof pants that I left behind.
Yep.
There's pieces of gear that I wish I would have brought with that were in my suitcase. But just,
Oh,
that
you
summer
had it with
mentality.
you out
Yeah.
there?
Yeah. And even
No,
Thomas
don't
was
ever
like,
leave the
I
rain
know.
pants
It's
ever.
it was a mistake. Which actually my legs were fine, but if we would have been out there for longer, I would have really,
Yeah, or if you would have had to help someone. Yeah,
it
full
just
rain
goes
kit.
with the principle of like,
Yep.
be prepared.
It's easy to talk yourself, especially in the summer, coming from like it's warm. Like if it gets cold, what's it actually going to get to? Like it's easy to talk yourself out of those things and like, oh, my pack's so full and heavy and I don't need that. But
yeah. And I had some stuff
that's
for
fine.
myself. I wish I would have been like more encouraging to others.
Yeah.
But everybody has their experience level,
Yeah,
like a lot of
that's true.
experience, a lot of mountain experience in this group that we were with. Like, yeah, 3-time hard rock finishers.
Yes. Yep.
AJW was with us, and he has an illustrious career of
Yeah.
trail running. Brian Metzler, who lives in Leadville and does everything from hockey to
Oh, Brian was with you too?
14ers. Yeah. And so we had
Yeah.
a good mix of
Very experienced.
people with us, experienced, and yeah, just don't let summer fool you too much. And I've been in situations. That's the thing. I've been in situations where
So-
it's like it just turns on you and you need to do drastic things. So yeah. So in the White Mountains, even more so, just be prepared. just take it all with you right away. And we found
Yeah.
out really quickly. We did the first summit and came back down to the lodge, and we didn't go in this time. And then we pushed for the second summit because the weather was just getting worse and worse and worse.
Okay.
And so we pushed for the second summit. And as we were pushing, like there's just, I can't even explain it. We're going to have a recap video of it, just showing the terrain, the wind.
The wind.
And there's just literally rocks of every single size going every single way. It'd be near impossible to run it on even a dry day. I'm sure there's a lot of, just strong power hiking on this FKT route.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then once the sleet and the clouds and then like 70+ mile-an-hour winds came in, like it got real pretty quick. And there were people who were having a hard time along the way. Like it's hard not to have a hard time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was thankful for just having experience in the mountains and having
the
genetics of just strong legs and ankles on that.
And you're kind of like, your demeanor is a little more like calm.
Yeah. Yeah. And
like I feel like that.
And I had committed to just like kind of following up the backside of our group just to make sure everybody's getting to where they're going. And there's huge cairns out there built up along the route, but it was getting to the point where you couldn't see from cairn to cairn. And it's just like, yeah, we need to get down. And Thomas,
the wind is really unnerving when it's like that. When you're up high and the wind starts blowing. I've never been in wind like that. But even on 14ers, when it's windy, like I start to lose my
well, and as soon as you have it's and then you add in the visibility aspect, and then you have the sensory aspect of like people are getting cold, hands are getting
and you can't just start
red.
running down a trail.
You can't, and it was just so slippery. Even for the Vibram Mega Grip that was on the bottom, 4mm lugs, which aren't the deepest, it couldn't save you from these rocks. So you had to go a certain speed just to get down. Had to be using hands because you're just even slipping down.
Because poles
a
are
lot
worthless,
of this stuff.
right? It's like too much. Would poles help in a route like that, or is it?
No, it's just too uneven. And actually, like Thomas ended up putting his poles away, and he is a pole rider. Like that's going to be. People are gonna.
I don't. Yeah,
I'll say it. Yeah.
I wonder if he'll like that.
Yeah, he'll think it's funny at least, maybe. Yes, Thomas is a pole rider.
Like, and then I'm like, I don't know.
But like he'll ride. What I'm trying to say is he'll ride or die for the poles. Like he loves his poles. Goes up and down and everywhere on the trails with them. I'm just digging myself a hole here. Sorry about that, Thomas. But yeah, I mean, he even put him away. I was carrying him for him. AJW has his, and he just had him tucked under his arm, basically, just trying to get down this because it's steep rocky, wet. And
Yeah.
eventually, like when we were coming down, Lynn and Doug from Mount to Coast, like Lynn just starts laughing uncontrollably just because of how ridiculous the
Right.
conditions
You have
are.
to
Like we
laugh so you
thought that
don't
we were
cry.
going to just come in and go do this route. Weather was looking pretty good up until the afternoon. Like it wasn't at all on our like bingo card that we're just going to turn around after the first summit.
Right.
And we were like probably 100 yards from the second summit, and we didn't even choose to push to that just to like
Yeah.
tick it off. It was just like a turnaround
I'm glad you did
situation,
it.
which great call, Britta, our guide. It's just what needed to happen.
Was everyone in agreement? Like, yes, now's a great time to go back.
Everybody
Okay,
was
good.
in agreement. I think so. Here's the thing of like most of the men that were on this trip were on the older end, like my parents' age or older. Which I do want to stop and say. I always say I have young parents. I really do.
If you're listening,
Yeah, Mom, you are young. Dad, you are young. They probably don't need that.
You do have
affirmation.
young parents.
I do. Yeah. My dad just celebrated his 56th, 7th birthday last week.
That's ridiculous.
So happy birthday, Dad. Yeah.
How old are you again?
I just had a birthday. I'm 34.
34. Oh my gosh.
I have to think about it. Yeah. So I do have young parents. But yeah, even so, like there was a group of women, the women on our team, they could have probably pushed ahead. We could have been separated into group A and B. They were ready to do that. But even when, they were going the rest of the group's pace and just being really gracious, they were not upset about the choice to move around because they would have been further along the route and potentially in more danger because the direction we were going was toward worse and worse.
Right into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I didn't hear anybody complain when we finally, after 8 hours, like we did 10 miles in 8 hours. When we got back to the trailhead, everybody was like, just glad to be down, still like in good spirits. We all went out for beer and whatnot afterward. I would really encourage people who want the more entertaining, dramatic, or I don't even think dramatic. Like Thomas's take on this will be much more real and like, I don't know. I'm just kind of giving you the facts right now.
Yeah.
But go listen to his on Friday. I'm sure it'll be much more entertaining than my take on it. Because he fell multiple times. Definitely cracked his head open one time because he ended up falling down and then slipping down to another rock and smacking his head. Oh yeah.
You're just laughing.
Yeah.
Definitely cracked his head.
No, he was down like more than 10 times. I bet you he fell.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, and then there was lots of well, and that's the thing too. There's so much potential carnage.
Yeah.
On there, like here in the Rockies too, of like a lot of the terrain was just like above tree line when you get to those boulder field type areas.
Yep.
But you're only doing that for a certain segment, and the trails are well worn enough that you can, even on the really rocky sections, have it fairly smooth comparatively to the Presidential Traverse. It is a super serious route. Some of the more technical terrain I've ever been on.
So there was no like opportunity to try again the next day or anything, or what was that?
No, because all of our flights were because the Mount to Coast crew, they were turning around and going right to Vermont 100, which they sponsor.
Oh, okay.
And so they were going out the next day. The weather did look much better the next day.
I wondered, yeah.
But we all took that opportunity to just go to a local coffee shop and porch sit for a bit.
Thomas didn't want to try it again.
No, I don't. Nobody was rushing. I don't think you could. There's no amount of money you could pay Thomas, I don't think, to go back and do that particular thing. I would go for free.
That, honestly, if just knowing like, hey, that's not for me, and that's okay.
Yeah, and that's I have so much respect for that. Yep. And it was just a really good lesson that there are some circumstances on these trail runs in the mountains specifically, known for more extreme weather and whatnot, of like there's no shame in just turning around and calling it a day. Because that actually, like I kid you not, probably saved someone's life out there. If we would have kept pushing, there was no way a helicopter could get in. Search and rescue would have had a heck of a time getting to us. Even if we had a beacon, like there's just, no good way around it. And I'm not even convinced that something like in those conditions with how thick the clouds were, like, I don't know that you could have gotten really good satellite signal even. And so,
I was wondering about that too, even with like
yeah,
an inReach or something.
yeah. Because that's something like here in the Rockies too, of like being so close to much higher in elevation. Like that's all I use anymore is like my
Mhm.
iPhone with satellite signal. And you can always get a pretty good view of the sky and send it out. But if you're in those thicker areas or just where the clouds just rolled in so thick like that,
Yeah.
it you can't even bet on the thing you want to bet on. Like
Right.
it's just that type
That
of terrain
backup.
and conditions. So it was a gnarly trip. Again, for the more entertaining take on it, be sure to listen to the drop on Friday from Thomas. I'm
AKA Full
I'm
Rider.
excited. Yeah. Yeah. And I would
Well,
I
I'm
would
glad
believe everything he says about it,
you guys are
actually.
safe and knew your
Yeah.
limits and knew when to say it's time to turn around
Yeah.
because there's no ego that will get you through something like that.
Yeah, exactly. I'd rather live to try it again.
Yep.
So
I'm sure
yeah.
your wife is very appreciative of that too.
Yeah. And I kind of haven't told her I've told her enough about it, but she listens to the drop every week. Not
Yeah.
our drop. She doesn't want to listen to me, but she listens
She
to
doesn't?
Thomas and the gang. No,
She doesn't
she
listen to you?
listens to me enough, I think. If I wasn't on this podcast, I bet you she was. She would listen.
Oh, that's funny. Jared listens every week.
Yeah. And my mom listens every week. Hey, Mom. So yeah, that's that.
Well,
I hope
I'm
you're
excited to hear,
yeah.
the other story.
But from what I can say about the M1, I'll kind of wrap that up here of like, it's going to be a solid contender. I think it's kind of like some of the other shoes that we've really liked this year surprised us in some ways,
Yeah.
both positive and potentially negative, depending on what kind of runner you are and what you prefer. But overall, I'm really excited about it. And I had to get home quickly so I could do some like true running miles on it and the trails around here because we were basically only hiking that whole time up steep
Yeah.
and it
On
handled it
such
really
technical
well.
terrain. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I can tell you right now.
Well, I'm excited to get in that one.
Yeah.
Like you said, high
You were,
elevation.
yeah, it'll be worth the wait for a lot of people. And at $190 when you're comparing it to the Norda 055, like that's a really intriguing thing to, okay, I am going to, if I get in trouble for this, I'm going to just
Apologize.
take the brunt for it. Yeah. I'm going to ask for forgiveness now. But so in that terrain, like whenever I go above tree line,
Yeah.
pretty much any terrain I go on or any route that I go on around here, if I go up above tree line and you're in those boulders and jagged rocks, I almost always get at least a cosmetic, nick on the foam.
Yeah, for sure.
Or like a chunk taken out every now and then. Not a single scratch. I inspected everybody's pair
Really?
of Mount to Coast M1s, not a single scratch on their midsole. Like,
That's
and I know like Jared and I both had like some foam damage on the Norda 055. Nothing that's going to affect performance, but it still scraped some
yeah,
chunks
and it
off.
happened pretty quick. Yeah.
I had another Robbie out of Salida. He sent me a picture of his Norda 055 and had a big chunk taken out of it. And so if the foams can last similarly as long, like we think that the Norda 055's character is going to last a long time.
Yeah.
If the M1 can have that type of durability and keep its characteristics too, like this is definitely in the running for it's already in the running for one of the better high stack shoes. But time will tell. Time will tell. But you were down at Hardrock.
I was, yes.
And I know we talked a little bit about it last week about like just briefly about your experience. And you were on the wait list. You didn't end up getting in.
Yeah.
You were okay with that, right?
Yeah, I was number 2 on the wait list. I started at number 22 and then I made my way up to 15 and then they cleared it because of service forms because that June deadline for putting your service form in. And then
which I would vouch for more we're going to talk about trends here pretty soon. I would vouch for more races, 100-mile or not, to have some of those requirements.
I agree.
I'd
we
be
need
okay
to
with
give
that.
back. Like we use these trails, we benefit from everyone who maintains it and works on it. Like donate to your local trail association, go out and work on the trails.
Yeah, and not to get like political with it, but I live in an area with a national park, and so I'm surrounded by two sides with national park, and on the other two sides of my property are national forest. All those are government workers, and the amount of workers that has been slashed over the last couple of years and will be more, like, we just need extra hands. If we want to keep doing this and enjoying these places, we just need extra hands out there to do that kind of work.
Yeah, and I think it's great to have more trail runners understand what goes into like building and maintaining trail and what makes that all the work that goes into it. It's a ton of work and a ton of planning. So yeah, there's an 8-hour service requirement for Hard Rock, and a lot of people on the wait list, I don't know, for whatever reason, just didn't fit their foreman. So I moved up to number 4. And then with number 2,
then it got real.
Race week. So then we had this added layer where there's a wildfire nearby. A lot of people know like your A100 was canceled because of it, because it was right on the part of their course was impacted, and it's just very close. So we had that added element.
You've done Ure?
No,
attempted?
I did about.
What do you?
I did about half of Ure. I quit at Ironton.
Well, I mean, you started Ure, which is like, I wouldn't even think about starting that race. Like,
it's a ridiculous race. You go up to these passes,
absolutely
you
absurd.
just go out and back and out and back, and then Corkscrew Gulch. I think you go, I don't know, clockwise, and then you go back to the aid station, and then you do it again the other way, and then you go back up over Richmond Pass, and it's like that race too. Like,
it's gnarly.
The time of year, it's like monsoon season. It's after Hard Rock.
Yep.
Like, just
because it's always the week after Hard Rock, right?
I think when I did it, it was like 2 weeks after, because Jared had finished Hard Rock.
Oh yeah.
This was 2021, and then we stayed out in Colorado because I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be so like adapted to the altitude and everything. I wasn't, and coming off like a bone stress injury in the spring, like shouldn't have lined up, but I did, and learned a lot of good lessons about when to not line up.
If anybody wants just a good sampler of the Ure side of the mountain, like the mountains, that's what makes Hard Rock, one of the many things that makes Hard Rock so special, is that each zone that you go in is so different. So you basically have 3 different zones, and the Ure side is known for that really red rock, all the different mineral content.
Yeah, it's
super steep, drier, hotter, typically.
Red mountains over there.
Yeah, and it's what I know it's gained popularity, but I don't think it sells out right away, does it?
I think it does. I think there's a wait list now.
Okay.
Yeah, I know it used to be like,
but there's not like a lottery, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think
and so if you still want a San Juan adventure, getting down to that area, but you want, 13,000 more feet of gain than
it's way more climbing.
It's than
harder.
Hard Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably.
It's not going to have the nice flow of the beautiful Hard Rock loop, but you will experience those climbs and descents, and it's
lots
of
out and backs. And on more like, there's definitely more like Forest Service roads, but that doesn't mean it's less technical, because some of those are so chunky.
Yeah,
and
washed out. Smooth, flowy roads.
Yeah. And so that's where, like, if you're one of those people who just wants the most challenging, and it's all at altitude. Yeah, I would say it's probably North America's most challenging 100-mile race.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say?
Yes, I would agree.
I bet. And you signed up for it. You are weird.
I thought about going back again, but I'm like really hoping I get into Hard Rock. I'm hoping the lottery is this year.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to take a spot regardless because of the smoke, and I have smoke-induced asthma. So I was like factoring all those things. I did bring everything just in case I made a stupid decision, which I'm glad I didn't have to. It didn't come to that.
So if you were making the stupid decision,
I mean, I brought all my race stuff, and I'm like, what am I doing? Why would I do that?
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't know. Maybe
you just never know.
Super clear, and who knows? You know, like.
Yeah. What if you had a dream that told you to do it?
Yeah.
That night before.
No smoke, so.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was potentially going to be a deferral process if AQI hit a certain point. We didn't hit that point, so the race went on as planned. And
Okay.
I got to be part of those conversations through the board. So
Yep.
race happened. It was, I feel like if we talk about some of the trends that were different, like it was a
Yeah.
very warm year. Like it was high 80s in Ouray, which was like over 8,000 feet, lowest point on the course, but still
Yeah.
8,000 feet and really hot. So
Which when it gets into the 80s here, like the past few days, like I was down in Boulder and it was like over 102. And
yeah,
so which means, it's usually like 15 to 20 degrees colder where I'm at. And
okay.
even at 80, it was just
It
so
feels
intense. The
terrible. Yeah.
sun is so
The
hot
sun is
when
too
you're that
close to
high.
you.
Yeah. And granted, like if you get in the shade, it cools down real quick, but the having
Yeah.
that ambient temperature around up here is just it's just so hot. I'm not saying I would take humidity over that,
Yeah.
but it is surprising on how hot it feels.
So we both grew up in Minnesota, and one
Yeah.
thing we realized when we came out here, we're like, oh, there's an actual difference when you get into the shade. It feels cooler versus in Minnesota, you stand
Yeah.
in the shade and nothing changes.
Well, even like I lived in Oman for a little bit. And so like when you're on the coast, it is
Oh,
still
yeah.
insanely hot. Like the hottest day I've ever experienced, it was 136 degrees.
What?
And yeah, and at midnight it was still over 100 degrees and it was 100% humidity.
136 degrees?
136 it was insane. It was like 2 days before I moved back.
Does
And
everyone
so
just stay inside?
everybody flees basically. Like a
Oh
lot
my
of like the
gosh.
workers will like they just work at night mostly. Summer shuts down in those kind of areas.
Yeah.
But even so, like in that type of intense heat in the Middle East, when you went inland into the desert, drier. So it's still like the same ambient temperature, like
Yeah.
air temperature. But you could go under, like we did a camel trek for 3 days and 3 nights across
Oh
this
my
big
gosh.
sand desert. It was awesome. But we'd always stop in the afternoon and just sit under the trees. And
Yeah.
if you were even in those conditions of like, if you just got out of the
In the
sun,
shade.
it made the world of difference. So
Yeah.
that's where I first realized, like, oh, this is why people
Shade
use
in
sun
the dry
umbrellas at
climate. Yep.
beaches and stuff like that because it's not as humid as Minnesota, apparently.
Yep.
Just get out of the sun.
Yeah. But that was a big thing this year, and I know we've talked about it in the past too, of like all the cooling gear that's
Yeah,
coming out, and some people kind of roll their eyes at it, but I think it's super important that we lean into
for
that and
sure.
learn what works for us. Because there's more ice bandanas and cooling materials than I've ever seen at Hard Rock. So
Yeah. And that's at Hard Rock. And at Western States, we're more used to seeing that kind of
yeah.
stuff. Because we did an Instagram post that kind of were of the trends that we noticed from runners and the event itself,
Mhm.
mostly focused on gear. And that's one thing we noticed this year too, of like there were probably just as many ice bandanas and that kind of stuff from the last
Yeah.
5 years, but there are some certain brands that are really sticking out. Were there any at Hard Rock that you
Yeah, I mean,
noticed?
East Peak for
Yeah.
sure. Some
Yep.
people had like kind of a probably Etsy shop or something they had made themselves, but
Mhm.
yeah, definitely East Peak bandana or yeah, ice bandanas, and
And
that
that
was the
was one of
main
the
one I noticed.
yeah, and a lot of people had modified how you tie it on. Like Ryan
Mhm.
Montgomery had a buckle on his East
Yeah, I
Peak.
saw that little snap.
Typically, it's a tie. Is that right? I've
Yep,
never
I think he
actually
just
wore an
tied
ice
it to a
bandana.
clip too.
Oh, okay. Sweet.
Mhm.
Sweet. Yeah. And so, like, that's, I feel like there's definitely, just in the cooling gear and clothing in general, that seems to be not only just a trend, but like the next kind of innovative piece of gear that we're going to be getting from the industry because we're
Yeah.
also seeing some cooling fabrics, like obviously ACG Radical Airflow.
Mhm.
Like we saw that last year, Caleb Olson wearing it, a lot of Nike athletes wearing it.
Yep.
And then like it went on sale when we were at Broken Arrow because they sponsor Broken Arrow. And so there's a lot of other people at Western States and
Yeah.
even different races. Like I saw at Vermont 100, there were multiple people wearing it this past weekend. And it's one of those pieces of gear that, like, and we talked about this in our first recording, but I'm just going to repeat it. Like, when I approach a shoe review, I try to be really level headed, kind of have no connotations, like just let myself feel out the shoe. Don't even look at specs over the first couple runs. Just like take it
Be
for what it
open.
is.
Yep.
When it comes to gear, for whatever reason, especially with, and maybe just because the radical airflow looks so ridiculous, but like I was very skeptical, even to the point of like, I don't think this is going to work. I don't even know if I want it to work. Like, do I
Yeah.
want ACG to have this win? And yeah, it works. It really, really works. And I think we're going to, with trends of global temperatures rising and, you know, it was one of the hottest years on records for hard rock. That's going to continue. If there's no snowpack, there's going to be a lot less
Less water.
creek
Yep.
crossings. All that kind of stuff are things that we need to be cognizant of as we go into the future of any sort of outdoor sports, but especially these big long trail runs. And we are starting to see it, but there's got to be and will be more technical fabrics that actually work as managing body temperature and not just managing like a typical running shirt, like that is typical modern running shirt, I should say, with the moisture wicking fabric. So what those are made to do are just to pull moisture as much as possible away from the body, and it's a quick drying fabric. And so it just dries up all that liquid, gets it away from your body. And so you're not having that sweat all the time. And then kind of like the next level we've seen a lot of in the past few years is having some sort of ventilation built into that same fabric, the same makeup, just having laser cut holes. If you're doing moth tech, I don't know how they
Not
do
as
moth
precise.
tech. Not as precise. There you go. But basically just adding more airflow through that fabric. And so that's kind of like the next level of these. I don't know. I don't want to give. It is management. It is heat management for sure.
The space,
But
the space lace, things like that, for sure.
Yep. And then that's a good point of like there's different degrees within those fabrics depending on the quality of fabric, how it's built, like, you know, the weight of it, all that is definitely has, you know, it works to an extent. What we're seeing with like radical airflow and then the Satisfy, gonna have to help me again with this one. I forgot it yesterday. Satisfy
Heat Crush.
Heat Crush. There we go. And then a couple years ago, there was one other Polar Tech fabric. Ultimate Direction came out with a cooling shirt. It had to be like 5 or 6 years ago at this point. But those are the only three that I've ever felt like that the fabric is actually assisting in the management of the temperature of your body and not just making there more air come through. And so we're getting to the point where a lot of these fabrics are being more widespread. More companies are investing in that side of technology and even ACG. When we went out to the headquarters, they wanted to just show off like we're serious about being here. And so they gave us a campus tour and, you know, a little inside view of what's going on with ACG specifically. And they really, really felt really strongly that the radical airflow needed to be their first true innovation. And so instead of like putting it towards shoes necessarily, and they have, you know, some good offerings, like I think the ACG Zagama is one of the best shoes of the year, while the Ultrafly is a very mediocre race day option. But they've really felt strongly about putting innovation toward apparel and having like something that actually works more than just the shoe itself. And so
that's interesting because it's always like, here's our shoe. And then like, oh, by the way, we made a vest and here's a shirt
and a cool kit to go along with it.
Yep.
But that was their stance. Like they felt strongly like they had to come out with something innovative and they wanted it to be apparel that helps athletes. And and if ACG's taking that kind of like spearheading it that way, you know, the rest of the industry is likely going to follow.
Yeah. Well, they've had a lot of
kind of how it works. Yeah, exactly. And so for what it's worth, Satisfy Heat Crush 2, it's a much lighter, one of the thinnest shirts I've ever put on, but it just acts like a second skin. And I think Thomas and I would both agree to this because we've been able to try both garments out of like the ACG shirt cools you more noticeably, even when it's dry. But when you get both fabrics wet, they continue to like adding hydration to that cooling technique is always going to exacerbate that. And so the difference between those fabrics and many others on the market right now is that they actually hold water to exacerbate cooling.
Like sweat activated, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so, and that's where, but it's slightly different where obviously radical airflow leverages the air passing through the garment, whereas heat crush, they actually have a material that on one side, like if you put your hand under it, and we saw this at the running event, and it was kind of surreal there. Like if you put your hand under it, so the side that's would be facing your skin, your body, it's cooler than the exterior. Like noticeably cooler to the touch.
Just on one side of that
fabric. Just on one side. And so that was weird, like kind of astonishing. And so I think we're going to, of trends, not only just, see more companies be in this cooling, even if it's just, having airflow built into high-end fabrics, but we're also seeing fabrics that actually make a difference in the cooling and management of temperature.
Well, and it also is a big reason why I'm glad there's the belt options that are available now. And this is one thing at Hard Rock too. One of the trends is like a lot of people were wearing a belt in addition to their vest, like a 12-liter vest. One of these belts, either like the Raid belt, the Mountain Racer from Ultraspire, or like the Dara belt.
Yeah, the Dara belt.
And I feel like the fact that we can carry things more effectively and maybe more comfortably around our waist too helps with that, because I feel like the last thing I want to do is put on my black vest over a shirt that's supposed to be cooling, and then kind of block some of the vents maybe, or just like have something else on. So I feel like if they can figure out a way to make a nice cool vest that like doesn't have this big thick pad behind you, and then I don't know what that looks like, but it would be amazing to see.
Well, there are a couple of good examples of like breathable vests that are out there, like
that more like mesh material.
Yeah, like Tantrum's Crest 6. That was the whole thing of like having a really breathable, lighter weight design.
Yeah, and the profile is slimmer.
Exactly. And so like definitely more breathable materials. And you and I have both tried the Soar pack, their newest pack. I should look up what it's called. And jury's out there on how we really feel about that one.
It has so much potential.
I'll let you go into it. It has a lot of potential.
A lot of potential. We talked about it a little bit. Like I like that it sits up higher. They do have do they have a white version? No, they don't.
Yeah, here, I'll look it up real quick. Yeah, it does sit up higher, and I prefer that. So that's kind of the difference between when they call a pack a vest.
Yeah.
And so if it sits up higher on the shoulders, kind of rides mid-back and higher rather than kind of sitting down into the top of the small of your back.
Yep. Yeah,
that's kind of one of the differences there. So it definitely has that vest feel, which I prefer. What I prefer is just having a belt. Like that's my number one.
Ideally,
but if I do have to go to a pack.
And I used to hate, that's a testament to the belts that are out there because I used to hate them. It used to make me feel like I was stuffed sausage and that was squeezing me in a very unflattering, uncomfortable way. They do have a white one. It's just
I just found
a trail race pack.
Trail race pack, simply as that. It has some of the best materials. Like Soar is known for that.
It's such high quality.
There's a few things, and we'll have a review of it coming out. But there's just some things about it that really, drag the performance down. And sadly, it has to do with the bottles.
I think a couple iterations of this, and they could make it really good. Because the whole thing behind it, it's like, it's a garment. It's part of something you wear. It's not a vest. It's not a pack, something extra. It should just like blend in and work with your layers. And
if it weren't for the bottles bouncing uncontrollably, okay, I'm just going there. Here's our review. If it weren't for the bottles doing that, like it's one of the, it hit me in the face. Literally hit me in the face on the downhill. I'll have to see if I have the video clip because I was actually recording on my. I want a slow motion
of you getting smacked in the face by your.
A little bottle coming out. Well, I was actually, I was videoing. I can't remember which. I was wearing that Asics Metafuji Trail 2, so I was videoing that, And the bottle, while I was filming, came out and hit me in the face and really distracted me. So I don't even know if I have it or not. But if I find it,
That
I'll
would be amazing.
share that with you. But yeah, but my whole point behind this is that the materials are wonderful. It's really
Yeah.
breathable. It rides that really nice line. Like it has more structure than the Crest 6, which the update to the Tantrum Crest 6 pack has more structure. Just
Mhm.
like they're not doing a full update to it, just like a couple of different things about it. But I think I would prefer the Soar pack minus the bottle situation
Yeah.
over pretty much any other pack out there,
Mhm.
especially if it's going to be hot and it requires one.
Yep.
So that's what I was thinking for MCC with maybe Jimmy Elam as our inspiration, having just a
yeah.
belt and a really light pack up top, and that
Yep.
would be able to carry all the required gear really comfortably, have it set across 2 different parts of your body rather than all riding on your shoulders. Like,
Yeah,
that's
if
the
all
move.
designers could just look to Jimmy Elam and what he wore at Hard Rock
He
and
is
that
the
aesthetic
trend.
and that style, we would be great. I would love
Yeah.
everything we get. I wouldn't complain about the pink and purple colorways anymore.
Nope.
I wouldn't complain about anything.
Yeah, I think well, I would say he's like he's on the head of the curve. He's what
Yeah.
everything's heading toward when his Hard Rock kit.
Yep.
So Jimmy Elam, but also just a great athlete, always has been.
Yeah. He's so cool.
Utah's pride and joy, huh?
Yeah, him and Anna and his partner Anna is just like amazing athlete for North Face too. Like those two are a power couple.
Yeah. So I think
his race kit was so good.
Yeah,
Like,
he had the East Peak bandana.
Yep.
What else?
North Face sun shirt.
Yep.
He had the Norda pack, the 12-liter pack that I think they're gonna put out maybe late this year, early next year.
I haven't heard on dates, but it looked phenomenal.
Yeah, it looks amazing. And then he's wearing the Dara belt.
Yep.
And he's like kind of a DIY guy, so he like had 2 Dara belts.
He's a gear junkie.
Yeah, cut a hole in so his waist light clipped into there, so he swapped out for that one, which I love the idea of that because adding at Cocodona, I don't know what I was thinking, but I had my belt on and then I just like put my waist belt like so your vest goes down to here.
Yeah.
And then I had like this much real estate on my body to put a waist light. And it got so warm, it was like against my stomach. And I'm like,
oh,
I
yeah.
feel like this is good. So I was like putting it down. And then I had just like pack, waist belt. It was just like too much.
Continuous.
So anything
pockets.
to modify is.
Well, and that's
really put that on. It's great.
That's kind of the next thing too of like, if with this whole trend of global temperatures and all that and conditions we're going to experience on race day, whether it be just general temperatures or extreme weather, of like our requirements for any race, no matter how big or small, are going to get, there's going to be a lot more policies for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Just kind of wild. Just that's one of the trends. I want to look at some of the other trends that we saw. Muted colorways. Again, look at Jimmy Elam.
I love neutral colorways.
Beautiful. And I've always been just like a sucker for just natural tones. Like if I look out my window, just see all the natural tones.
Match nature.
It's my favorite. Exactly. Yep. And a lot of brands are going towards that.
Also, I know a lot of friends who wear bright clothes and then they get stung. So
yeah.
It's a safety thing too.
We have a lot of hummingbirds around us that we're just in that migration. And I'm sure you do too.
Yeah.
With all the wildflowers and whatnot. Anytime I wear a bright colored something, they just come right up. Yeah. Let's see.
Jason Schlarb and Jimmy were there up in Norda. Sorry.
Not normal.
Not normal. Norda. And yeah, I saw the 005 and the 055, and Jason had that vest on too.
Yeah.
The vest looks sweet.
Let's see. Small brands. We've talked about East Peak a lot. Like I saw a lot of Terragnota out there, just a small brand, and we haven't reviewed. We're going to make an order to review some of their gear. So let me know if you want on it for one. But it just seems really quality. Alex has done such a great job at like also doing the kind of the muted tones a little bit every now and then, a little splash, like a glacier blue type
he's got
situation, but just really quality gear at an approachable price point. And he's really transparent. And we're going to see a lot more of that maybe not all at the with all that transparency or at that price point, but we're seeing a lot of smaller brands. Like we've talked about it for a few years. Like the rising tide is here, and we're going to see a lot more of these brands come into the space and play, which is great. It just pushes
I think
everybody
it's
along.
exciting. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Now with our market, like there are enough athletes out there, people who would identify as trail runners or need trail running gear, whether you're a hiker even, like that will, there's enough of
I
a
know.
marketplace to share
I
around all the
love
goods.
seeing more people hiking in trail running shoes and with a vest, because I used to just, you know how it
Yeah.
is. You see people with like the big backpack or like
Yeah.
even the day pack that's like a 20-liter pack, but it's just like this built up, overbuilt, structured pack. They're wearing hiking boots, and it's just like,
Yeah.
no, go light. You look so miserable. And they do.
There's a better
They're
way.
just like standing there like, how much further?
Yeah.
You're like, it's a ways, and you got a lot of shit, like
yeah.
I'm just so glad more people are trying out the running vests and the trail shoes. And
Well, when we were out in Tahoe, we were on the PCT and we met up with Barfight, was her trail name.
Was she through hiking?
She was through hiking. She was like
awesome.
50 some days in, and it was her final of the Triple Crown. And so she had done
cool.
Appalachian, Continental Divide, and so she was doing PCT. And she got her name on the Appalachian Trail, which was her first one. And I wasn't going to ask questions because I just want to romanticize how she got that name.
She earned that name.
Yeah, but she's like, she's done all this through hiking and hiking the rest of her life for the most part. And she was wearing the TerraVenture 4s, I think. Topo Athletic TerraVenture 4, which is a lower to the ground Topo Athletic shoe, room display. The last 3 TerraVentures we've loved, like some of the best, especially lower drop, low to the ground shoes. And she's like, I will never change them as long as I can. She had 2 other pairs waiting for her along the trail. Like,
that's
and
awesome.
so, yeah, even through hikers that have, quite a bit on their backpack, it works really good to have those lightweight shoes.
Yeah. And prevents some other foot issues, the constant sweating and how, I don't know, I always have friends who have trouble with their ankles rubbing and everything else in a more overbuilt shoe. So. And
just, hair loss in those regions from, I
Right,
constantly wear crew length socks and I have no hair from my sock line on down.
Yeah.
The little things,
Yeah. I mean, so going back to the trends, I'm glad it kind of like goes to what you were speaking about the presidential traverse too, of like, if you want to experience the San Juan Mountains, you do not have to get into hard rock. Like you probably won't, because you got to wait a while because the lottery system and the way it is. We're making progress. I think there's definitely room to grow, but go down and do soft rock, do a guided hike. There are so many opportunities to get out in those mountains, and like bring your storm gear, just be prepared out there.
Just bring it all.
Put your course on your phone, download it on your watch. There's all sorts of information because the hard rock courses, you can go find the GPX file for clockwise, counterclockwise direction and go explore those towns. Go from Uray to Telluride, go from Silverton to Telluride, go just get out there. So there are ways to do it without getting in the race. And I feel like I heard a lot, and this is important to me, of like women who hadn't considered even putting in the lottery or anything like that, who are just like, I could never do this race. I would never be able to do it. And I feel like there's just this huge barrier for women, and I want to like dig into it more. But it's just like, even the women who were in the race, like one of my jobs was to try to get representation up at the front, because we're trying to get women up to the start line and show the representation, because whatever percent apply to the lottery is the percent that they get in.
Yeah.
So,
which
they were just
for
like,
that
no,
group,
like hard, like very uncomfortable, like no, I'm not going up there. Please don't make me. Like, so even just taking up space on that start line or just being near the front was just something like so many people didn't feel comfortable doing.
Yeah.
They're like, oh no, I'm not elite. I'm not a pro. I'm not fast. But it's just, there's a big thing there.
Well, I think there's a lot of ways that are approachable these days, no matter who you are, male or female, of like, you can approach some of these huge things in steps.
Yeah.
And so like that's like even I think that's why I got really excited about well, there's a lot of reasons why I got excited about the road surfer deal. But like having that as an opportunity
Yeah.
of like if you want to like if you have the means, like use that as your base camp and
Mhm.
lodging and put money toward that and go do an
Yep.
adventure in some of these beautiful places like the San Juans. Doesn't have to be the race. And I know
No.
like Reese is also like that's very much in the season she's in. She just wants experiences, not
Right. Go
necessarily
have
to
fun.
train for something. Like
Yep.
there's a lot of different opportunities and options out there to do those kind of things to gain the experience, whether you
Yeah.
want to race or not, ever. But
Yeah.
but you're right of like, and I think that's where we're seeing, kind of that gap between women and men get closer and closer together, and hopefully, like especially for hard rock, like it's a really stark contrast of like what is the percentage of women that's even in the lottery compared to men.
Right.
Like that's hopefully going to get smaller and smaller, that
Mhm.
divide, but also the opportunity for that women are just encouraged to do or
Mhm.
anybody is encouraged to do these days. Like there's just so many more options like if you're willing to be brave a little bit.
Yeah. I
I like
remember
that
this with
trend.
winter ultras too. I remember like women were always just like, "Oh, I can't do that." And I used to think that too. I would see these people, mostly older men,
Yep.
like who were doing these gritty winter ultras, and I was like, "Oh, that's not for me." But that's so cool. They were like able to
Yeah.
survive 20, 30 below and be fine. But then I saw like more women do it that I
I think there's
related
just a
to and
lot more sensible people out there. Maybe
talked to.
that's
Yeah,
that's
maybe
what's
that was
going
an
on.
indicator of just
Yeah.
like run the other way. And it because of women doing it, I was like, okay, I'm gonna try it, And it's
Yeah.
just like, but there's this huge barrier, this like kind of mental of like that's too tough, that's not for me, that's too hard for some women.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would love to just dive into that more and just create more paths, like you said. Break
Yeah.
down the course, get out with other groups of women,
Mhm.
go hike it, go fast pack it.
Yeah, and I mean, it is statistically, like, I would be interested to get numbers from, like, Ultra Sign Up or something like that, of,
Yeah.
like, how much over the last year has trail running participation in, these many different subgroups, has it grown? It's grown
Hmm.
a lot overall. I think when we were at, TrailCon, can't remember the stat, but the largest growth, group was women. Do you remember the age group?
Oh, you
It was
sent
like
this. I don't
women
remember.
18 to
I feel like it was young.
something. Yeah, it was young women, which is awesome, and it's an indicator that some of the things that we're doing as a sport, as we're growing,
Hmm.
are like the inclusion techniques are working,
18 to
or at
25.
least there we go. And so, or at least making this more of an appeal to more people.
Yep.
And again, whether that be for women, people of color. I talked with Tommy
Yeah.
Runs about that
Non-binary.
last week.
Yep.
You name it. Like
Yep.
if we can continue to, I've always thought this is an inclusive space, and that's one of the reasons why I continue to choose to be in this community.
Hmm.
Um, but I know there's some ignorance within me that like there are access issues that
Yeah.
are being, identified and hopefully having strategies to help with those
Hmm.
access issues.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a
And
trend
people
I'm
who
excited
deny
about.
that and say like trail running is so inclusive and trail
Yeah,
running, like I don't have, that's always like kind of, no offense, white men who are like,
sure. But
oh, I
that's,
don't
yeah,
have any trouble on the trail. I don't get hurt. It's like, well, no,
yeah,
you don't. And you can go through your life very differently than someone who is a
exactly.
female running at
Yep.
night or a female running alone in the mountains, even. Like,
Yeah.
I get people, like older men, always being like, be safe out here, be careful. Are you okay? Are you all
Hmm.
alone? It's like, well, quit asking me all of that because it makes me feel
Yeah.
weird. Like,
Yeah.
are you alone? Like, why are you asking that?
Yeah.
First of all, like, don't do that to women. But like,
Yeah. And
there's always this
on one,
concern, like, you're a woman out here, you're in shorts on a mountain, you're alone, like, oh,
yeah, that's a concern of its own. But it also
Yeah.
shows like there are some folks who would ask those same questions, and just because they don't see that often. Like that's just not the common person that comes by. And
Right.
so like on both cases, whether it's a weird safety issue or like just because there's not like that's not the common person. And let's face it, us runners out there in shorts, we could probably use waterproof pants more often.
I have a friend,
But
yeah, she's like, "Oh yeah, my husband gets dressed up like a candy bar and goes and runs through the woods with all the bears."
Nummy. Yeah,
But yeah, lots of
muted
progress
colors will
to
be
made.
appreciated.
Yeah, the neutral colorways again.
Yeah. 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 There's a lot more. I'm interested to see like, UTMB is the largest of the races or trail running events in the world. And so I'm interested to see if some of these trends we're noticing here in these kind of smaller pools and no doubt the core trail running community. I wonder how we'll see that once we're over in Europe in a different space. You know, by and large, are some of these trends starting to take hold? Like, would have I noticed it in this particular group of people
Yeah.
compared to the groups that were in? So I'll be looking out for some of those at UTMB. I'm sure some of the gear related stuff will be true for sure.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I'm curious demographics and everything else you see. You'll have to report
yeah,
back.
yeah, we'll see. I'll be looking. We have a shoe we want to talk about. Do you have time to talk about a shoe real quick?
Yeah.
Briefly.
I don't know.
Briefly. I got it here for you. Your
The
colorway was way better
Cascadia.
than mine. The Brooks Cascadia 20.
Everyone's
Was your first
trail
shoe?
shoe. A lot of our first trail shoe.
Yeah. I was aware of this trail shoe, but mostly because it was my mom's first trail shoe. She had
Oh,
Brooks
nice.
Cascadia, and then she had the original Ultra Lone Peak.
Yes.
And I know
had
she
that
has
too.
the Lone Peak still. So hold on to that. I'm sure that'll be
like
one
a
of those
relic.
Yeah. But it really was. It is one of those. It's probably the trail shoe that has the most iterations or most history within the modern trail running space. Like I know there's some like ACG and Adidas had some trail shoes in the late 80s, but they didn't continue those, and maybe they're picking them up now again in some fashions.
One other thing, sorry, that I wanted to
Yeah.
bring up at Hard Rock was Nick Curry ran in the Adidas Adios Pro 4 and put a Vibram outsole on it.
Yeah, and I'm usually don't feel so strongly, but that is a stupid decision.
I want to know how it worked for him. I want to talk to him.
Dude, running circle pit in that shoe?
You got injured like immediately.
And that was on a road. Like, that was on a
I know.
gravel
I was
path.
just like, did you feel like you were being launched off everything? Because I know he had a specific time where he's like, I'm going to switch into this shoe. I would love to hear him talk about it. And
which I could see of like
to do it again.
Yeah. Is that something you would
ever
do
it
again?
again?
Would you recommend that to your children? Yeah.
But yeah.
That
might
that's
be a thing though, where people, because they can access a cobbler and have their shoe resold of like, hey, I really like this road shoe. I'm going to put Vibram on it.
Well, that's what I did with I should probably do a post about it, but the Hoka Rocket X Trail.
Oh, that's right. You got that.
I really love that shoe, except for the outsole. I wanted a little more bite because I think it's a shoe that's more versatile than they give it credit for.
Thomas is like, you wasted your resole.
I'm like, no, I didn't. I really like this shoe.
He's like, that's not a new shoe.
Yeah, I definitely have some chunks out of the midsole and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, that opportunity's out there. I think you can see it if you're watching the video here.
Green on the bottom. You see it. I recognize that. I remember that. Look.
Yeah.
Okay,
a beer mile championship on those shoes now.
Yeah, you gotta retire those.
Maybe
they're signed and retired now.
Yeah, I'll put it on my retired wall over here. But I mean, this shoe is not the shoes that we were just talking about,
no.
like the Cascadia. I want you to describe it how we were talking about it yesterday, because you did a really good job. It's not that it's a bad shoe.
No,
I'm not saying that in necessarily a bad way.
Like my whole experience when I put it on, when I took it out for runs, there was nothing. That's like I said before. Like there's nothing wrong with it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's a very durable, well built, well thought out shoe. It's just not exciting. It doesn't I don't get excited to go for my run. Like when I got that 5.5, I was like, I'm gonna go for a run just because I'm so excited to experience it, to write down some more notes about it. And
And
it
if I
was just
remember right, you went out in your
fun.
first round in your pajama bottoms in those. That's how excited.
Just
No, I'm
right
just
up
kidding.
the door.
Yeah, I have done
Yeah,
that,
I just
but
there isn't anything wrong. Like the lockdown is good, the heel collar, lacing, tongue, like everything.
yeah,
It works, it's dependable, it's reliable. And like I wrote in my review, it's like it's that friend that's always there. Like you can call it, but it's probably going to be the one that's going to drive you home from the party. They're not going to be the one to buy you a shot. It's not going
yep.
to be the one to get you rowdy, make you laugh. Like it's just like they're there, you know they're there, and they're going to get you home safe and they're going to check on you in the morning.
Yep, exactly. And our other reviewer who reviewed it was John,
Yep.
and he loved this shoe. And he reviews a lot of like what I would consider more of the standard trail shoes. We kind of have
Yep.
silos within our reviewers. Like you and Jared will get more of the mountain technical stuff. Reese gets
Mhm.
more of like the faster race day options
Yep.
typically. Renee and Melissa will get a lot more of the gravel options, but John, he typically gets the standard ones because he's just been in pretty much every standard trail shoe out there. So he's
When
a
he
lot of
puts
good
on so many
experience.
miles, like he races and
Yeah.
trains,
Uh-huh.
races every weekend.
Constantly. I would probably feel bad if I looked at his Strava and see how many miles he throws down
Yeah.
a
Well, just the
year.
amount he races. I'm like, your ultra sign up, you just scroll.
I would bet the miles he has raced this year is more than my total miles.
Oh, probably.
Yeah. And so like he just puts it and he loves this shoe. Like if he was the only one
S
reviewing
tier
it, this
shoe of
would
the
be
year.
S tier.
Yeah.
And it would be like for him. And it just and I get it. He's not going to be like running blistering paces. He just needs something to do the miles and to do a variety of miles really well.
Mhm.
And this is, this was at the top of his list. And
Yep.
there's two ideas within this shoe that like one I really, really like actually, and one that I'm kind of want to ask you about. One of them is that the Brooks Cascadia gains millimeters, so it gains stack. They swapped the foam out from a
Mhm.
DNA Loft V3 to a DNA Loft V2, so the previous model. But the
Yep.
characteristics that are different in the V2 are that it's a little lighter, more responsive, and so they erred on the side of that rather than more durable option. And so it's nothing flashy, even though it's called DNA
Flat.
Flash, but it's just a good nitrogen infused
Mhm.
supercritical foam. And so that's one thing. Added two more millimeters. One of the trends we didn't talk about, which we should do some other time, but like I've been saying lately, the 38 millimeters is the new 40.
Yeah.
And so it's right at 38 millimeters, kind of on trend there. It absorbed the Caldera model, which was that their high stack, really built up. I don't think I have a model. I don't even think I have one over there, but we've liked the last few iterations of it, but they're going away with the Caldera and absorbing it into the
Mhm.
Cascadia just because there's a lot of similar features. But I would say this one's actually more runnable than any of the Calderas.
Yeah.
So a little more versatile that way. So I like that. What do you think about Vibram? And this one's a big one for me to say because if I were to, I was going to say if I got a tattoo of something I felt strongly about, it'd be Vibram. Like
Like
it
full
improves
Vibram
every single
outsole.
shoe. Yeah, yeah, full Vibram outsole. But that yellow stamp, like, does that do anything for this shoe for you?
I don't think it necessarily needed it. I think I always do like to see a Vibram on my
I
shoe.
mean, yeah, it
However,
never hurts. It
yeah,
actually,
it never hurts.
yeah,
But
I
that did
think.
contribute to the weight gain, right?
Well, I don't know necessarily if it does.
Or is just the foam switch?
It's like, oh yeah, I'm trying to remember what I said yesterday. Um, so the foam actually helps maintain the weight. So I don't think the weight is any difference within the
Okay.
shoe, even though it gained millimeters.
I thought it
My
helped.
issue was like it gained price. It gained $10 for Vibram, which I've never had this feeling about throwing a Vibram on a shoe. I was really fine with the Trail Tack Green. I
It
thought it
was
was a
good. It
durable,
worked. Yep.
tacky rubber for most of the iterations that they've had. Um, but automatically putting Vibram on something, usually shoes will take a $10 to $20 price point hike. And so this automatically puts it in 160 and up against a lot of really, really good shoes out there that admittedly have
Yeah.
a lot more character than this particular shoe. And so that's where like kind of a philosophy around it of like, is that worth launching this into the 160 price point? I would say no.
The other also, like I ran in the previous version too, the other outsole performed well. I didn't have
Yeah.
complaints about that one.
Yeah. So I think it launches it into kind of dangerous territory for the line itself. Like I think it could pretty quickly head toward extinction with all these other great options that have similar stature, but a lot more lively, fun options with similar durability and dependability. So that was my big thing with this one. Like, I don't know if that was the smartest move, even though once you see the, yellow logo, you're like
Right.
bought in. I know that
Mhm.
part's taken care of.
You
It's
know
going to be great.
reliable. Yep.
So yeah, I don't know. Unless, and we talked about this yesterday, I'm not going to pretend this is our new idea today, but unless like they did with the Hyperion line. So the Hyperion line
Yeah.
or the Glycerin line, all the lines now have multiple shoes under them, the
Yep. They
Ghost
have their
line.
race shoe, their trainers. Yep.
Yeah. And so I wonder if that's kind of like the catalyst to what that happening with the Cascadia. We have the Cascadia Elite. One of the
Caldera's
commonalities
gone.
between them is
Yep.
Vibram. And so maybe that's just, maybe they're going to add another Cascadia below the traditional Cascadia or slightly different. Kind of like
a
how
more lower stack.
well, I don't know about lower
What would that
stack
even-
necessarily, but less tech driven. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if they actually could do that with this one. I don't think that would be a smart
Yeah.
move either. But having tiers of it for different
Yeah.
purposes, they would have their Gore-Tex, they would have their race day option, probably one in between them that's more of a lighter up tempo model,
Yeah, I can see
but
that.
still Cascadia something. And one of the commonalities would just be the Vibram between them all. But I don't know that for sure. I know they're doing it on the roadside, so maybe that's a trend we need to be looking for.
Yeah.
In the
And then
future.
they need to make their recovery slide, and then they need to make their
Beautiful.
Cascadia vest.
Yep.
I know.
And
Brooks has
then,
that, so.
I mean, I always love the Cascadia name. I feel like you could do a full, brand launch of clothing and vests, like you're saying. Yeah.
For sure. And it's just like it's been around forever. Like anyone,
heritage.
they all know.
Yeah.
Brooks Cascadia, that line is.
Yep. Cascadia. I'm all for it if it continues to expand, I guess.
Also, they should put out a cooling shirt, some heat tech apparel.
Cascadia.
Brooks.
Feel like you're in the Cascades.
Also,
all the time.
Alex Terragnota, some cooling tech.
I do know some stuff. He did clue me into a couple of things that are coming down the line, but I don't want to spoil anything.
Okay. Good.
I don't know about a cooling shirt itself, but there's some cool things otherwise,
Cool.
I can say.
Otherwise,
but I'm
cool.
sure, he is someone who is really cued into a lot of these nuances, mostly just doing what he wants to and what he thinks would be good offerings, but he's a smart dude. So, okay.
All right.
Hey, second time for this conversation, and actually, I think went as well as the first one. So,
Second time.
and you could see me the whole time this time.
Yeah, the internet thing is amazing.
Okay. Trends for seeing each other more often, clearly.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you again.
All right.
Literally.
Bye.
Okay. Bye. Hey, Dirt Division listeners, NAC is the sponsor of this week's podcast. They are a Canadian-based company that is globally known for their nutrition products and eco-friendly approach. They have a range of goods like bars, purees, gels, broths, drink mixes, and even a recovery mix that I wasn't aware of. So I gotta get me some of that, because I have some big mountain adventures and UTMB MCC coming up this summer. As a trail runner, I've been using their Boost line for workouts and long runs. The gels and drink mixes are full of quickly digestible carbs. I used the Boost drink mix while we were in the Grand Canyon, and it really felt like a one-stop nutrition shop with 60 grams of carbs per serving, 500 milligrams of sodium, and solid subtle flavors. Their focus on a specific glucose to fructose ratio and use of natural ingredients are truly gut-friendly and performance-enhancing. So, if you're interested in trying any of their products for yourself, go to nac.com and use the code BITR15 at checkout for 15% off. Links in the bio. Hey, this is Taylor with Believe in the Run, and today I get the privilege to sit down with Sean Van Horn. And if you're a Colorado trail runner, that name is probably familiar. He's a world-class athlete, world-class guy, too. I've gotten to know him over the last few years just working in this industry. But we're going to talk about a little bit about him, but also a lot about technical terrain and maybe some footwear and gear that are specific to those terrains. A terrain he knows really, really well. And he actually brought up this topic to me, but I didn't want to have him on the mic without letting the audience get to know a little bit about him too. So first of all, Sean, welcome to the drop.
Thanks so much for having me on. Excited to get into it.
Yeah. Just first, I'd like to hear it from you. How would you describe yourself and maybe how you've gotten into running, and not just running, you're an all-around mountain athlete. And can you just give a little bit of your history and how you got to where you are a world-class athlete? And I know there's some struggles you've been dealing with in the last few years that we'll also talk about, but can you give us just a brief history on Sean Van Horn?
You're getting old, so brief is starting to get a little challenging here, Taylor. I'm turning 40.
Time flies.
40 in August. I've been an endurance athlete a good portion of my life. I started off bike racing in college and was pretty decent at that, got very obsessed, and then was unfortunately hit with a back injury when I was around 19, and that essentially ended my cycling career. And that also kind of reignited my love affair with the mountains. I grew up backpacking and climbing, mountaineering in Washington with my parents. Was dragged around on backpacking trips as soon as my dad thought I was ready. I was not ready, but I didn't have a choice in the matter.
But yes, you were. You were.
But, yes, I was. I've paid back that masochistic childhood that he inflicted on me in many ways with some long bike rides. Really started to get back into the mountains and found trail running in college just as a way to engage in endurance activities in a way that I didn't feel as much pressure and didn't feel as much grief around not being able to ride my bike fast anymore. And as my back kind of improved, I had a few surgeries, I started to get a little bit more into the competition side of things. That was around, I suppose, 2014. And then in 2017 was kind of able to really get back to a level close to where I was before. I don't think I was ever my pre-back injury self, but was able to kind of find my way back to sport. And I really got into ski mountaineering at the time. I grew up snowboarding, so I'm still to this day not the best skier at those events or on the mountain, but it's definitely something I enjoy, and it really makes sense as someone who likes to get into the mountains, because you don't just have to go run on the treadmill or on Front Range trails in the winter. You can get deep into the mountains and just engage with those types of environments. So that's definitely been a passion of mine. I think running, while I love racing and competing, is just more of a way to get into the backcountry and just experience wild places and have interesting experiences that leave you changed when you come out. And I've worked in the running and outdoor space for a long time. I worked at Boulder Running Company back in the day, and then managed our outdoor shop, running specialty shop here in Carbondale, Colorado, near Aspen, for a long time. And that shop is a little bit unique in that about 50% of the shoes that we sold were trail runners on the running side of things. Most specialty,
which usually, that's like a maybe 10 to 30% at most.
Yeah, I think it's starting to change. Trail is on the rise. Trail is hot, but it's generally
my
a
life.
Small percentage.
Yeah.
So it's been really, really cool to see trail running shoes change and evolve over time. Been a long fan of yours and of Believe in the Run for covering everything. Lets me nerd out on the product and decide what what I want to bring into the shop. And then recently, around 4 years ago, I moved into the marketing side of things. So I do PR for an agency based here in Carbondale called Backbone, and I get to do PR for awesome brands. La Sportiva is one of my clients, so lots of gear that's pretty close to home there. And it is cool to kind of be in a little bit more of be in a role where I get to really interact with the product and kind of bring it to life and work with awesome folks like you.
I was hoping a little bit that you'd toot your own horn here, but I do want to say, like, when we're talking about like good mountain athletes, that's a range. But you are one of those athletes who, for one, like ski mountaineering, when Killian set the ascent record, you were one that was hot on his heels going for his ascent record as well on skis. And so, like, that's the caliber, one of the fastest known times on the Nolan's route. So those are things that people might be familiar with and names that you are mixing it up with. So I do want to give you credit there. And I know that the last few years have had more health scares and just questions than anybody would ever want, which has affected your ability to get out how you want. Could you speak to that a little bit before we get into some of the specific gear stuff?
Of course. Yeah, I'm bad at tooting my own horn.
No, it's okay. I think a lot of people are. I'll do it for you.
Yeah, unfortunately, around 5 years ago now, I was hit with some mysterious health issues that really took me down. I just done Nolan's and then had a really tough race at Javelina where I was not ready to start a 100-miler and just had quite the death march the last 50 miles of that desert race. And for 8 months was just pretty destroyed, body and brain. Couldn't run, could barely function. It was just a real hurdle to get off the couch and go to work. And those started to subside around 8 months after the initial onset, and I was able to get back to some racing. But it's really been a roller coaster ride since then. And it's also been quite the journey trying to figure out the health issues, navigating the medical system. Because when you have these obscure issues where blood tests and evaluations don't reveal something obvious, you kind of end out in the wilderness, and you can get pushed into pseudoscience and new age approaches to health issues. And there's a lot of grifters in that space, unfortunately. And it's just kind of a wild world to navigate. And it's something that I think a lot of endurance athletes end up dealing with. My wife's a sports dietitian. She sees folks all the time that, might be dealing with REDS or other nebulous issues that she's trying to help them get through. I think it is something that a lot of folks deal with silently. We see all the highlight reels on Instagram, the comebacks when people win, but there's some people that just kind of end up taken down by these things. And for me, it's still something I'm battling. I found an amazing doctor in the Front Range. Anyone in the area should go check out Teddy Bross. He's a concierge doc. He's also David Roche's pacer. So, he's got David's endorsement there. And he's been running some tests on me recently. We think there might be some iron overload issues. So I'm doing reverse blood doping, getting some blood taken out, and starting to feel a little better. Kind of went from just being able to walk a couple miles to at least being able to hike. So hopefully I'm on the up and up here, but still have a little ways to go.
Yeah, and you've been open to, just with some like social media post about there's some serious depression that can go along with that. And is that something you're also, I don't know, able to talk about a little bit, I guess?
Yeah, always happy to dive into that subject for better or worse. Share all day. Mental health struggles have been something that are not new to me. It's essentially what got me into endurance sports. I think that's a pretty common thing in this world, especially on the ultra side of things. I think a lot of us are running away from something, or using endurance to medicate ourselves a bit. But yeah, both in I think a very medical way, in that this issue has affected my brain in a way that is new to me, that has caused a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety, that has been very challenging to deal with. And then just being removed from the sports and the community that you love is something that's really, really hard. And Instagram and Strava and the FOMO that comes from that certainly doesn't help. So I'm lucky that I have a great wife that's there to support me, and some awesome friends in Carbondale. But yeah, it's been honestly one of the most challenging parts of all this, is that at times my brain has just been has been something very foreign to me, and there's been a lot of demons to wrestle with, and that's been it's been the biggest fight of all of it.
Yeah. And that's something that, it's not that anybody would wish that upon anybody, but it is sometimes just good to know that there's somebody else out there that is experiencing something that you are, or something that's familiar. And I don't know, for what it's worth, I just know that there's a lot of not just athletes, but human beings out there who don't get the chance to share that out loud, or get the chance to hear that from someone that they're connected in that way, and that they're not alone in that struggle. And I know that
Yeah,
doesn't help by saying that, but it's real.
100%. And this is something that might sound a little trite, but the reality is it's all temporary.
Mhm.
And I think you can take that a lot of ways. But whether you're riding a high right now and in the prime of your life, and you know um, performing at a high level,
Mhm.
or you're kind of in the depths of despair and not sure if it's ever going to get better, it's all temporary. It will get better, it will get worse, and all you can do is just put one step in front of the other, and just have faith that tomorrow is going to bring something new.
Yeah, and another approach is just go do the dang thing and see what's up, because last year, at Broken Arrow, you ended up winning the Triple Crown there, even with a lot of health struggles, and man, it's admirable for sure.
I appreciate that. I was not in very good shape.
Yeah.
The health issues were not doing great there. So I signed up for the Triple Crown knowing that I have an excuse for being slow. And that race was very, very competitive. It was extremely humbling, being a lot further back than I wanted to be, but it was cool to race throughout the whole weekend, and
Yeah,
just
and,
be.
just a brutal weekend to really, like, try to compete at. Like, it's one thing to go to try to finish those, but to compete and then come out on top. I was really impressed, and that was, like, almost a year ago now, but it
Running
was so
stage
cool.
race, brutal. I was destroyed after
Yeah,
that. It
yeah,
felt I was like, oh, well, it's like you recover from a 50 miler pretty quick. It can't be that
yeah.
bad. For me, that recovery was much longer than a 50 miler. I was taken down for weeks after that.
Oh, yeah, and, like, I don't envy the folks who are competing in the VK on Friday, and then they get a day's rest and then do the 23K, so they even skip the longest race there. But, man, that's a hard performance to back up on any day. And you
I'm getting
did.
on a tangent here, but I will say last year,
Yeah,
a couple, at least on the guys side, I'm not sure with women, but a couple of the guys that did very well, or raced the VK, were in the top on Saturday.
exactly. Yeah,
I think Noah Williams, Ryan Becker for sure. Yeah.
yep. Yeah, a lot of them were for sure. And you brought up a 50 miler. I know a lot of this audience is familiar with the JFK 50. And I'm gonna toot your horn one more time before we get into the mountainous stuff that you really love. Let's see. JFK 50 miler, 5:44. That was a really competitive year. I was on watching online and rooting for you. Fourth overall, but 5:44, insane for JFK. That's
Yeah,
range, man.
that was that was a good race for me. That was kind of coming back from the initial health issues as they came on. And it's funny because at that time, I remember I made this post and I was like, I'm excited to turn the page on a new chapter. This last year has been complete hell. Looking forward to better days ahead. And little did I know it was going to be a long ride after that.
Yep. Well, as you said, it's temporary, and hopefully that temporary just means better days ahead still.
Yeah.
Can I ask what shoe you wore for JFK that year?
So for that year, so I hadn't started with Backbone yet, so I was still working with Dynafit back in the day.
Yep.
So I used one of the Dynafit Ultra shoes to start for the trail, and then I switched into the OG Alpha Fly, still one of the best road super shoes ever, in my opinion, for the
Tops a
tow
lot of
path and
people's
road
list.
section. And that was my first time running an ultra in, a super shoe. And it was pretty fantastic. My legs felt pretty good by the end, which is not something
and that you can recover from an effort like that. That's fast and recovery.
100%.
Okay. Well, first of all, thanks for sharing all that and just being vulnerable with that. I appreciate it, just being able to hear it myself. But we're here with a topic that you brought up to me, and it's a topic near and dear to us for mountain folk, and I think it would appeal to anybody who's wanting to or approach technical terrain at all, whether it's in the mountains themselves or elsewhere. Like I even know like northern Minnesota, Iron Range, even though it's called a range, it's not exactly mountains, just very technical. You can find it pretty much anywhere you're at. And it takes specific gear to do well on that.
It does. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the evolutions in shoe technology that have come to the trail are fantastic. It's really cool to see. It makes running more fun. One thing that I notice living here and just wanting to run in the Elk Mountains, which can get pretty rugged, especially if you're getting off trail.
Very rugged.
Is that
there's some rugged peaks around there?
Yeah, we get a lot of talks too, which can be pretty hard to navigate. The rock here is not always very stable. But a lot of the shoes that are coming out now really are oriented a little bit more at that runnable terrain. Not to say you can't take some of them in technical terrain,
for sure,
but not necessarily what they are designed for. We're getting carbon plates, we're getting super foams and bouncy midsoles, which make running, particularly on courses like Western States, Black Canyon, Javelina, really fun, really fast. But that doesn't always translate to these technical trails. And you kind of have to find the ones that can make their way over. But I think sometimes what can be missing in this new landscape of shoes are models that incorporate some of those new technologies that can allow you to handle the rough stuff.
Yeah.
Especially when things get steep, get loose, get rocky.
And I think, kind of the pinnacle example of this that many people will be aware of, and even La Sportiva for the Prodigio Pro, I'm bringing this up not because you represent them, but because it is one of maybe the best general trail running shoe ever made. I mean, that's me saying that personally. Even though it can handle a lot of terrain, that model was very much influenced by the American market, and a lot of these more subtle trail shoes that are coming out. And while I would say I would do pretty much anything in that shoe, even that model itself is influenced by this movement of the American.
Yeah, 100%. The entire Prodigio line from La Sportiva is designed more, at that American market, and some of the changes you're seeing in the European side of things too. But it is a little bit of a departure from some of their shoes that are made to handle really, really steep, really rough terrain. I agree that the Prodigio Pro can handle a lot. But, we can talk about this at some point, but they have new models coming out that are more using some of those technologies and for the steep terrain that you find in the Dolomites and other parts of the Alps.
Mm-hmm. And not that this conversation is all about La Sportiva. We'll talk about that too. But that's one thing I appreciate about a lot of the brands who bring some of these offerings to the table. I mean, you talked about Dynafit, La Sportiva. There's a lot in that realm that they want it to be able to perform on their home course. And for La Sportiva, that like really right outside of the headquarters is the Dolomites, and it has to be able to perform there. And I love that they keep that perspective, keep that mountain heritage, even as they expand into kind of broadening their trail scope. But at the end of the day, it has to perform in the mountains, and not all shoes do so equally, and definitely not all stack heights or foams or plates. And that's the intriguing problem nowadays, right?
Yeah, 100%. I got to go to La Sportiva's international sales meeting a few years back, which was at their headquarters. It's based up in the Val di Fiemme, which is in the Dolomites. And right out the door, there's just VKs everywhere. And I just remember going on this one trail, it was nuking rain. It was nuking rain the entire time I was there, unfortunately. But I seriously, I pride myself as a pretty good downhill runner. I think I went uphill faster than I went down. It was just rowdy. There's exposed sections. It's steep. It's muddy. And you can see why the trails or the shoes are made the way they are. Like a lot of North American shoes are going to fall apart on that, and you're going to be pretty terrified on the way down.
And it's why in more in the history, the Prodigio line has really allowed La Sportiva to blossom to a lot of other trail runners that wouldn't normally even pick up that brand. But it's also why, like, if you go to Boulder, if you go to Salt Lake City, some of these mountain communities, that's where you'll really see a brand like this, because it's made for, by and large, for those types of terrain, very specific. And that's kind of the terrain we're going to be talking about today. And so I wanted to hear this from you. You are a gear nerd, and you are a great athlete, and you frequent the mountains. When you look for a shoe that you are knowingly going to go into technical terrain, could be long days. Duration doesn't really matter at this point, because some of the features of a trail shoe are going to help you allow you to be more successful in that terrain than stack height or a certain foam. What are some things you look for personally or want in a trail shoe to get into those rugged stuff?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it varies a little bit based on what type of technical terrain you're going to go into. You know, if I'm doing something like Mount Sopris, which is just right out my window right here, it's our local mountain. It's just under 13. You can move pretty fast on it, but it has a lot of choss, a lot of loose rock and trail. Particularly towards the summit. So moving through that without falling and smashing your knee, which I did do a few years back, can be a bit of a challenge. So for something like that, you know, I want something that is going to be protective, where I'm not going to be stabbed through the foot with all of that debris around. And, you know, first, probably even before that, I want good traction. So I want a sticky rubber, and I want some lug depth that's going to bite into some of that kitty litter that we get in Colorado. Our trails are very dry. That's also beneficial if it's wet, obviously. But I want something that's going to allow me to run fast downhill. And when I put that foot down, I know it's just not going to slide out from under me. And, you know, be sticky enough to grab on rock when I'm running down it as well. And I think after that comes, you know, the fit and then the stack height of the shoe. So I have started to have more issues with my feet as I've gotten older. Thank you, ski boots. But I want something that is going to hug that foot pretty well, and not allow it to slide around. I want it to be kind of precise and tight, especially through the midfoot and heel. I think it's fine if there's a little bit more splay in that midfoot. Going to be a little bit better with the nice aroma I've developed over time. But that precision is going to let you know that when you put your foot down, it's not going to roll, and you're actually going to have some like connection to that shoe for the articulation that you need, like for that foot placement. It's uneven terrain. Your foot's not just always going down the exact same way. And then when it comes to stack height, you know, I want some protection for the foot. For me, if it's really, really low, I end up running a little bit slower because I'm getting, poked through the foot, or it's just a hard rock plate and you get that real firm, hard sensation. And I don't always think that lends itself to speed either. So I think, a moderate stack height, something like that Prodigio, where you're going to have enough padding and cushioning where you're not getting stabbed, but it's not so high that you have to worry about rolling your ankle, losing ground feel, and just not having as much control in that terrain. For the upper, I don't think as much about that, but I do notice when I'm running in rough terrain, if it's a really, really thin upper, one, that can get ripped and torn. And then two, you do get stabbed a little bit more. Like you're just more likely to have debris kind of come into the side of the foot. And that, can cause some real pain.
Discomfort for sure.
So that's, more moving through that type of terrain where you're still running pretty fast in, even though it's technical. So that might be your East Coast trails, running in, 14ers, 13ers in Colorado, or just some of the high country stuff that we get around here. When you start getting into, more technical, like real technical terrain, class 4, class 5, things where if you fall, bad stuff's going to happen, bones are going to break, search and rescue is going to come. There's some of those same characteristics apply, but you start to think about things that, climbers might think about a little bit more, right? Like you obviously want really good grip, but the lug depth probably doesn't want to be quite as deep because you need to smear a little bit.
Contact.
You need to put your foot onto smaller holds and just have confidence that that's going to hold and, not bring you down the mountain.
Yeah. I want to go back a little bit to kind of the first thing you mentioned of just protection underfoot. And a lot of times, again, in our modern way of thinking, we just assume that's going to be stack height. It's going to be some sort of softer foam. In the past, we saw a lot of rock plates. We don't see as many rock plates these days. But what I think is underrated is full rubber coverage for this type of terrain. And I'm a proponent actually that you don't, more often than not, you do not need full rubber coverage. But there are some brands who purposefully keep it not just for the grip, but that's a protective element itself. Poking through rubber is much harder than poking through foam. And so that's something to consider looking at a shoe there. Is that something you consider as well?
I agree that I don't think you always need full rubber coverage. No. I think it can help to prevent delams, right? It can help prevent that rubber from tearing off. I have seen shoes where, just working in especially run shop for a long time, where it'll, effectively go through the foam and just rip off the entire heel. One of my friends, when he was doing Nolan's, is an older model of a Speedgo, but literally the entire heel just disappeared, and he just came down a couple of blocks just like on his toes.
Oh my gosh.
But so I think full rubber can help to prevent that. It does provide a little bit more protection, but I think in a lot of cases, it's not something that you always need. When you are moving through, off trail terrain, really rocky stuff is just going to cut those shoes apart. You do see some of these shoes just get destroyed. There's an athlete named Michael Worth, used to be sponsored by La Sportiva, amazing ski mountaineer and runner. And I'll just never forget when I was managing the shop here, he just kept coming in with these shoes that he was destroying because he was just going off trail on the Elks, was scouting the Elk Traverse here, where you just complete all the 14ers in the range, and every shoe he tried was just getting demolished. And then he eventually, to La Sportiva here, he got the La Sportiva Mutant, and it actually held up because that full rubber coverage and just that really beefy, almost more of a hiking shoe upper.
That's the end of the spectrum. That's going to be more extreme with the Mutant, and the Mutant's still for sale, right? Like the Mutant, the second variety or a second version of it.
It's still out there for now. It is going away for a little bit. Okay. More to
getting some attention there.
I think Yeah, I think a lot of folks will be stocking up on those in the interlude while they're not
It's
available.
it's one of those shoes that it's kind of like the Ultra, like the Ultra Lone Peak. It's that shoe that's the ride or die for them. The Mutant is one of those shoes, at least in this area, that once they got into the Mutant, they're not trusting anything else out there. Like that is the pinnacle in terms of like aggressive trail running shoe for aggressive terrain. But that's much less of us. I have a question about foam, quick.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts? We get this comment a lot, is that there's no place for EVA in running shoes anymore. What are your thoughts on that?
I remember saying, I don't know, probably 6 years ago, I was like, EVA is going to be a thing of the past in running shoes. I think that for a lot of running, going with more modern foams and some sort of an EVA blend makes sense. I think when you start to get into some of the technical terrain from a durability perspective and then from a stability perspective as well, as far as the shoe just being holding the same shape underfoot when you're moving through really rough terrain and engaging in dynamic movements, I think it can still make sense there. It's also
For sure.
it can be pretty darn protective. But I think we're starting to see some changes there.
For sure.
And I think you can still get, some pretty durable protective foams that aren't necessarily made out of EVA. I think companies are just continuing to play around with these new foams, and I think we'll just continue to see it evolve over time. I don't think we'll see EVA completely go away from shoes made for more technical terrain for a little while. I think it'll be around for a little bit.
And honestly, like, this is another thing I'm a proponent of. Like, the EVA blended midsoles are some of the best that we've had, especially in light of this technical terrain. I think it's given some new life to these like lower profile, slightly more aggressive, lightweight shoes to have some sort of EVA blend, not just a straight EVA midsole, but the EVA blend does give it enough structure, enough durability, but you can still play with some of that, the funness and the sensations you can get from these other foams. So I like to think it's still.
Yeah, and a lot of the trail shoes, right? It'd be great just to have a solid block of a super foam underfoot, right?
Sure.
But it can just get a little sketchy, particularly if there's no sort of plate in there. So that carrier model is something that most brands have adopted when they're looking, at a trail shoe that can handle a variety of terrain. So you get that EVA, the nitrogen infused EVA, or a more durable material as that carrier, and then you can get that nice soft poppy core that can give you the best of both worlds, kind of.
Well, and also price point. Price point is something that's hitting us all. Where it was when we're talking about a general trail runner being between 150 and 180 is kind of the range of like, that's the general price. A budget trail shoe these days is 140 and lower. Like, that's just wild. And a lot of those end up having an EVA based or straight EVA midsole. So that's something to consider too. That I think, is sometimes overlooked, all that.
Yeah, especially if you're ripping and tearing those shoes up in rough terrain, right?
Exactly.
But I think, the faster you're going and the more even the trail, the nicer it is to have that really responsive, plush feeling underfoot. When you're moving slowly through technical terrain, it just becomes a little bit less paramount, right? Like, speed isn't going to be as determined both on the ups and the downs by the responsiveness of the foam. I still like having a nice, soft, bouncy underfoot feel when I'm, grinding out some 15-minute miles up a 14er. It still feels nice. But it's not gonna make you go as fast. We know, like, for some studies, the steeper the terrain and the more uneven the terrain, the less benefit you get in any like economy savings that a shoe can provide.
For sure. And then the nice thing though about it, like when we think of just supercritical EVA, so the process in which this midsole is formed, I think that has made some great waves in the types of shoes that you were talking about today, and just allows it to be lighter, sometimes a little more flexible, sometimes not. And it's just, yeah, interesting. Like the technology we have, when you think of true technical terrain shoes, has to be used in much more specific ways to get a true benefit in technical terrain.
Yeah, 100%. Like it, and companies like Sportiva and, I'm sure Dynafit and other brands where, their DNA is the mountains, and the athletes they have, the designers they have, for them, like the pinnacle might be something other than running fast at Western States.
Hmm.
The shoes they're testing and the type of environments they want the shoe to succeed in are different. Like La Sportiva, bring it back to them. One of their premier athletes is Nadir. I'm going to butcher his last name, and I apologize, Maget. So like his big project for the year is to get the record on the Matterhorn. Like he's trying to run fast at, I think CCC this year
Yeah.
and some other races, but he wants to go tackle the Matterhorn. So the shoe he wants to see them produce is something different than an athlete who, wants to go put down a fast time at Western.
Sure. What's the shoe that you grab for most often?
The shoe I grab for is the Presio Pro.
Hard to go wrong.
That's the brand I'm with too, and it's a good brand to be a part of right now. It's just hard to go wrong with it. I can run door to trail to our kind of more deserty network over here, Red Hill. I can use it on Sopris and in the backcountry. I'd say if I'm doing something more off trail, if I'm going to be getting into some class 4, low class 5, then it is probably that. I like that OG Prodigio a lot. I think the Prodigio 2 can still hold its own there. But just with kind of the shallow road lugs, the really grippy rubber on the forefoot of that shoe, and just a little bit more precise fit, I think that handles it really well.
Yeah. And even though it was a super critical midsole, it was a little firmer. You knew what to expect a little bit more out of that shoe than the second Prodigio, which is a little squishier, softer. Still can do well in technical terrain, in my opinion. But
yeah, I think it still does well. And I need to put it through its paces a little bit more there.
It is more of a generalist than it was before, even. But that was the whole idea behind it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and they actually have a new shoe coming out. We just wrote the press release on this. This is the Talento Pro.
So does that mean it's coming to US and I'll have samples here soon?
Yes. Probably PRE.
Yeah.
I think we have sample size right now. If anyone's a 9.5.
I've had a lot of people send me some videos that I think there's been some trade shows over in Europe the last few weeks, but more videos lately of this particular shoe and a couple others within the line. I've been good about not hounding you about, but I'm intrigued to hear too.
So this shoe is pretty exciting. So this was designed with Nadir wanting to bring some modern technologies to shoes that are made for fast terrain. So you get, lower stack height, you get the power wire upper that you saw in the Prodigio Pro. There's a second version of that coming out, a little bit more precise fit, still a bit more spacious in the forefoot than what you usually see from La Sportiva. Mm-hmm. And then we were talking a lot about foams. So this is the Pro version. So they use a TPEE single block throughout. So durable,
we love that TPEE,
nice and poppy, and something that they found gives that responsiveness, but has the durability, the protection, and just a little bit of bounce to help you move through the mountains pretty fast.
Sticky Can I see the heel collar on that?
Yep. First time you see it, folks.
Yeah, that's a little more robust than the Prodigio Pro.
Yeah, so definitely a little bit more robust, a little bit more structured through here. So I think you're going to get
cushion too.
Yeah, a little more padding, a little bit softer on that Achilles, and then it's just going to hold the foot in place a little bit more. Yeah. So with that more substantial heel counter, you're going to get a little bit more foot control there certainly, and just having that lower stack height overall is going to give you a little bit more control too.
Do you know the stack height off the top of your head?
I should have Googled it before.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It looks like it's probably right around the 32-ish, 30.
I want to say 32, 38.
Yeah.
But I'll.
So it's still
that's too high. I think it's
34, 28 maybe.
Like 20, 26 in the 4-foot.
Okay. Still 6 millimeter drop.
Yeah, so still the standard 6 mil drop. So this is the pro version with the TPE midsole, and then the standard Talento is going to have that the nitrogen infused EVA that we've seen in like the Prodigio 2.
Prodigio 2.
But
dude,
yeah, so kind of
that sounds ideal, honestly.
Yeah, this is not my shoe. I haven't been able to run it yet. I have big ass feet. This is from my neighbor Joe DeMore, who's a La Sportiva athlete and absolutely crushes in technical terrain. His FKT
to say the least.
It's got to be like 2 or 3 pages long at this point. I mean, I just texted him. I think he's over in Leadville, probably taking down another FKT right now.
Yeah. And for those who know Seth DeMore, also shoe reviewer, he's the shoe reviewer I listened to a lot in the past, but his brother.
Yeah.
So both just crushers.
They talk about shoes a lot, but Joe is definitely someone that excels in technical terrain. He has like the record on Capitol Peak and just a bunch of other.
Been on U.S. teams for skiing and running.
Yeah, he won Sky Running World Champs in the vertical. He's just pretty prolific in the mountains. He's just always out there hammering it and just putting down incredible times and stealing all my Strava K1s. I don't think I have any
every day. He's just
except for a few downhills in the valley. That's what I got left. There's some downhills. So Joe's going to hear this and go take those now.
Just need motivation.
He's put it through its paces and is pretty impressed. Tony's been able to run it some as well, Anton Grbichka. And I think it's living up to the hype, fast, responsive, get some of that, Prodigio Pro DNA in a package that resembles some of the well-loved shoes that we've seen from Sportiva in the past. Something like the Captiva. I would say this is going to be for anyone that's been around the block for a little while. The Captiva was this low profile, fast, aggressive shoe that just annihilated technical terrain. I think Claire Gallagher won Western States in it too. So had some range. But this is more like the modern, iteration of that shoe with some new foams, softer underfoot, more responsive, get that, really durable power wire that you see in the Prodigio Pro, but it's still going to hold that foot in place.
Yeah. All about confidence, honestly.
Yeah.
And 100%. Feeling good, but confidence for sure.
And looking good, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Does that matter in running? That's a cycle.
I mean, that's lower on my list, but I always appreciate looking down and seeing something pretty. So, I mean, is there anything you could say about the Prodigio Pro 2?
So the Prodigio Pro 2, I think you'll be happy to hear that their main goal was just not to mess with a good thing.
Great.
So we get some minor updates to the shoe. The main change is that we're getting a midsole change to the carrier. So that carrier is going to be the TPE foam that you see in that Talento Pro. So we're going to get a little bit more durability and stability from that, hopefully a little bit more responsiveness as well. And then we get some tweaks to the upper as well. So that power wire is going to be just changed slightly with the goal of trying to make it a little more stable in challenging terrain. So the fit, the last, isn't going to change drastically by any means, but we just get some small changes there to try to make it even more of that crossover shoe to technical trails.
And we have to wait till running event time? Golly.
You can squeeze your foot in a 9.5.
Yeah. Not for a Sportiva. I got to do that 44.5. Oh, man. Okay. Well, I did something I talked about the other day with Kyle Richardson and Jane Moss is that there's a little bit of an access issue or accessibility. How do I want to put this? It's dangerous to go into these terrains that we're talking about. And you are someone who is very, very experienced. So to kind of like wrap up our conversation, do you have any tips for someone who wants to kind of access some of these terrain? Obviously, we talked a lot about the footwear and things to be mindful of, but do you have any like really practical tips of like, we get a lot of people to our neck of the woods who want to go explore these 14ers just because that's the thing to do, but that's often putting them in terrain that they've never been in. But to do so, do you have any tips besides just stay out because we got a lot of visitors? Just kidding.
Yeah. I think for folks that are just starting to venture into some of this terrain and have mostly been on, more buffed out trails in the past, just, start slow, right? So don't go if you're in Colorado, don't just go, jump in and do Capitol Peak, or if you're visiting the Tetons, don't just go up the Grand, right? So look at some forums. There's lots of info out there, and if you've never been in terrain where you need to use your hands, start with class 3 terrain, and then once you're getting some comfort there, you feel safe, then you can progress to some higher levels. I think that going with someone who knows the route well is very advisable, because especially once you're getting into the mountains, things can get pretty confusing and it can be hard to stay on route. And if you're on route, it might be completely safe. But if you're getting off route, that's when things can get pretty dangerous. You can get into some terrain that cliffs out and can get very consequential. And if you're trying to push that, things can go in the wrong direction pretty quickly. We've had that on Capitol Peak a number of times, unfortunately. And I know search and rescue is often out in these mountains and out in the Tetons and the Cascades as well. So I think don't underestimate the terrain. And if you have friends that you can tag along with, I think that's always advisable. And if you want to hire a guide to go out, like that can be a great way to get into these mountains. It's something we see a lot here, where folks that might be runners, and instead of running, they're going out and they're hiking the maroon bells and working with a guide who might short rope them through some sections, just to make sure that they're safe. That's Simi Hamilton, who has the elk route record here, does a lot. He spends a lot of time in these mountains just getting people up and down safely as a guide.
All really great points. Do you have any alternatives? Because both of you and I live in popular areas for people to visit who might want to run. Do you have any alternative peaks that wouldn't be Capitol Peak, that wouldn't be the Maroon Bells? Like, you don't need to do the 14er. Some of my favorite mountains are actually 12,000 foot peaks and 13,000 foot peaks. So like in my area, if someone wants to get the alpine experience without needing a bunch of skills, go do Twin Sisters. Go check out Deer Mountain. You can do some of these that are lower, but really actually full value. And you can come out feeling pretty good about what you just did.
Yeah, I'll mention some that are in the photo in the back here.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
It's where my wife and I got married. So that's just right out of Crested Butte in the Ruby Range there in the Raggeds. So you have Ruby and Purple right there just above Lake Irwin. You can access that by going up to Scarps Ridge and around. There's some nice private property issues there. But yeah, those are beautiful 13ers that are very easy to get up and offer you stunning views without a lot of crowds. That's a fantastic option. In the Elks here, Sopris is always fun. That's our home mountain, something that's pretty easy to get up and down, but it has a massive amount of relief from the valley floor. So you really get to feel like you climb something pretty large when you're looking back up at it, enjoying a beer in town afterwards. And then I think in the Sawatch, which is pretty close here, you get a lot of fantastic options if you do want to like tackle a 14er. Obviously those can get pretty crowded, but La Plata is one of my favorites, where it's going to be pretty easy to get up and down. You get fantastic views and feel like you are in more rugged terrain without having much danger. When you go down to the San Juans, we get a ton of beautiful peaks. They just stretch out forever. And there's a lot of great 13ers and centennials to tackle. Some of my favorites are right above Ice Lake Basin, which is incredibly beautiful. If you've never been there, go there this summer.
Just go
please.
there.
It's on the Hard Rock course. It's gorgeous. You get a lot of people, but as soon as you pop up out of there to Upper Ice Lakes and access to some of these peaks, you really don't see anyone. So there's Vermilion and Fuller, which are pretty standard class 2 peaks they're relatively easy to get up while still having a little bit of challenge there. Those views are absolutely stunning and are definitely worth a look.
Great. I'm gonna have to listen to this again and just go tag all those. Anyways, it's just so fun to explore. Sean, before we sign off, where can people find? I mean, if you want people to find your personal Instagram and all that, I always enjoy following you. Beautiful pictures, thoughtful captions.
So Instagram, I'm S to the VH. So that's the handle there.
And what about your dogs? Huh?
That's the better account to follow. That's one of my wife's accounts. That's Van Horn Aussie Pack. We have 3 Australian Shepherds that take up a lot of our time. It is a full-time job keeping those things exercised and entertained. And probably a better follow is my wife. She's this awesome sports dietitian. Fly Nutrition is her Instagram handle. Lots of great tips on nutrition there and some fun content as well. And they have a cool podcast called Your Diet Sucks. Check it out.
Yep. Okay, all the plugs there. Well, Sean, thanks again for sitting down and talking. It's been a long time coming. We've just needed to sit down and talk anyways.
Format.
Yeah. And I mean, you keep bringing questions. You might just keep showing up here. I want to argue with that.
Happy to come on anytime.
Okay. Thanks, Sean.
Good stretch, got my laces tied. My trusty podcast by my side. If you want to talk fun, it's the place to be. Yeah, it's the drop. DROP.